have not personally been told you don't belong, or, your hair is unprofessional, you should change it. At the same time, how I present and how I look does impact how other people perceive me. And so I have been in my newsroom and there have been some microaggressive comments, but for the most part, it's been the opposite. It's been very warm and very welcoming and all of that. And so I think the reason I've experienced so little of it is because there have been veteran journalists who came before me, who did a lot of advocating, who did a lot of trailblazing, so that I could walk down this path they carved out with all the confidence, with all the skills to go into this newsroom, and it's actually workable and livable and all of those things. So I feel comfortable if I have a problem or someone offended me, I feel comfortable bringing that to my superior and they take it from there. And I haven't had to do that yet. Again, there's been nothing super direct that has made me uncomfortable. I've heard horror stories from my colleagues, so I know it still happens, and that they are still navigating that as far as potentially HR or potentially switching newsrooms or having a conversation with the person. And there's even more options than that would be available should that ever happen.
Hi, I'm Skylar. I'm a national youth correspondent from North Carolina, and
Hey, Skylar.
you mentioned in your introduction that you write a lot about race. And as a person of color, how do you manage your identity when writing stories about race?
How do I manage my identity as far as remaining unbiased or taking care of myself while writing those stories?
Both.
Correspondence always with the double question. So for the first, the stories that I write that involve race are something that I pursue because I'm passionate about people and the impact that these different things have on them. And so throughout the course of the reporting, I'll lean on data, I'll lean on metrics. The suicide story is a good example of that. And it's never a time where you see, I think this, or I said this. It's always the source said, or the data set shows. And I think just leaning on that material completely absolves any Randi that may come into the story. Because at that point, it's just seeing the data, summarizing it, and then it publishes as is. So I feel very settled in reporting these stories because I know, my name is on the story, but the facts are there on their own. They stand on their own. And even with that, people will still get upset and send me angry emails. You're making this up. This doesn't really exist. Race disparities, they are not anything. And then the email right above it will be, thank you so much for writing this story. Really appreciate it. So it really does happen. You'll hear some feedback on it. As far as the taking care of myself, I mean, you heard I like Abbott Elementary. I watch some TV shows or go for a jog or karaoke or something like that. But in the midst of writing the story, there are times when I'll step away and take a break and go take a nap just because I personally feel the heaviness because the person I just interviewed looks like my mom, and that can very well happen to her. And I don't see my heart as a disadvantage. I see it as making me human. And wouldn't you know it, I interview humans, so that's okay. I'm gonna keep this in case I need it again. Is there more? Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Jay Marlowe.